Alright everybody, Baron here, welcome back. So today, this is probably, would this be technically the first part of my E3 footage that I'm sharing with you guys? So if you don't know, you may have noticed that there's not 2 videos every day on the channel like there almost always is. Well, normally if that happens, it's because I'm at an event, right? I'm at E3 right now. This is me playing this game. I'm on the table, waving my sword around and talking to my crew. This, guys, is probably one of my most anticipated games. This is Sea of Thieves. It's definitely in the top 3. I think this game is going to be awesome. That being said, while I'm at E3, leave me in the comments right now, because I've only got 1 day left by the time you see this. Well, a day and a half, really. What games you want me to try to check out while I'm at E3. It's like Flight of the Valkyries here, but pirate style. How cute is that? Okay, so anyway, this is Sea of Thieves, and basically how this went was I went to this Xbox recording session. Now, E3 is open to the public this year. This is my first E3, so I don't know what it's like when you don't have millions of people trying to check out the same games you're trying to check out because they're awesome. But it was hectic, but I managed to get in and play and record. You know, big shout out to Microsoft and Xbox for like giving us these solid state drives that we've got to record this footage on. So this is like a little clue right now. But basically my crew is getting ready in this, what would you call it? I guess like a saloon of sorts, right? But isn't that a Western term, saloon? What is the pirate term? A tavern. Yeah. But anyway, I love pirate games. I actually played a few other pirate games, which I will go over with you guys in the coming days. But so we're trying to figure out what's going on, and unfortunately, we didn't realize this at the time. We were wasting time because there's plenty of treasure and booty to plunder out there. But this game is seriously fun. So I just want to show you all of the footage that I have, and I made a pact with one of my friends, Stat, to kind of, we'll exchange footage because I saw some stuff that he didn't see. He saw some stuff that I didn't see. So I'm trying to have 2 videos on this. This is, like I said, one of my most anticipated and most looked for games by yours truly. I'd also like to know if you guys are really excited for this, because this is going to be really cool game. I love games like Black Wake. Ubisoft announced their pirate game Skull and Bones. It's a good time. Oh, here's the grog. Now, if I'm not mistaken, grog is a mix of rum and water. And I think they used, you guys know, like scurvy. You ever heard of scurvy? Now, I could be totally wrong, but I swear I heard this from somebody one day, maybe out on the ocean. But what it was, you know, water could get like infected with, I don't know, like parasites or bacteria or, you know, stuff like that that would eventually give people scurvy. So what they did, look at this, I'm swaying around because I've had too much grog, is they combined rum and water so that the you know, alcoholic components of the rum would disinfect the water. And here's me playing some kind of a musical contraption while I'm swaying around. Everybody's having fun, messing around with the grog. But this is basically like an outpost. This island we're on right now is an outpost island. There's a market. There's obviously this tavern where there's wenches serving you grog. And look at that. Now I'm throwing up everywhere. But yeah, if you have too much, you've got to get it out of your system. And if you do that on somebody else, their whole screen will be covered in it. It's pretty funny. But here we go. I finally made it outside. Look at how beautiful the visuals are. I have to say that this is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. I talked to a number of the developers and the people on the team, Rareware, and they were saying that a lot of people will open up this game and just watch like the waves crash, or they'll open up and look at certain parts and keep it on in the background while they're working because the game is just simply so beautiful. It's almost like the best screensaver you've ever seen, right? And here I am messing around with my sword, but eventually we're gonna get on the ship, and what's cool is we've got a 4-man crew right here. Oh gosh, a nauseous pirate in a sword, his saber. It's not a scimitar, would it? But like, look at that. Look at those buildings. Look at just everything. The palm trees, the clouds. One of the most amazing things I saw was the water effects. When I was watching somebody else play, I saw them fall overboard while the ship was in transit, and the other and the other crew members on the ship had to like cut sail and turn around to go pick up the man overboard, right? And it was pretty awesome. But when he fell off the ship, he was submerged. And he was just looking up at the waves, and I swear it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And this is me accidentally pressing a button, opening up a debug menu. So they closed that for me. And look at this. Now we're heading out, and there's the ship. There is the ship. Oh, and someone is already on the cannons messing around. But look at that. It's a nice 3-masted ship, and it looks like that guy fell in the water. I also did. And here, look at this. Look at it. Even just look at the water. But see, I saw rolling waves, and they were gorgeous. But, like, look at this. This is, like, what, pre-alpha or alpha state? Sea of Thieves. And just look at how beautiful the game is. And look at that. It looks like we've got, what, is it 5 cannons on each side or 4? I'm not sure if we've got 2 decks of them. And this cannon wasn't loaded, but look at this island we're on. So this is an outpost. There's a market. There's the tavern. I guess you can buy resources. We only had a specific amount of time to play, and I think it was about 20 to 25 minutes. So here I'm going up to the crow's nest to see what we can see. And you can hear that cranking noise. That is some of the crew members pulling up the anchor. And that bell, as you're about to see it, there's a bell on the top of the crow's nest. So you can imagine that there's probably someone on top of the crow's nest, and he's going to have to communicate with the captain of the ship. Or at least, maybe not the captain, but whoever's steering the ship. Because traditionally, a captain would steer, but also he was more or less, you know, managing the crew and not as much steering, right? So we're getting underway. You can hear that we're taking off from the dock here. We've dropped sail. We've only dropped 1 sail, and it wasn't until later in our kind of a team member, one of the people who worked with Xbox or Rareware or Microsoft or all of the above, was like, hey, you guys could go a little bit faster if you drop the first sail, right? So you can drop all the sails, but it's a lot to manage, so it's kind of got... It's pretty intuitive to figure out how to steer a pirate ship with a crew, but you can definitely see how. Look at this. So the anchor, they just put it up, and so I get back on the steering wheel here. So I'm the one who's navigating. Now you can see. Look at that. See those little white lines? That's the wind. So right now I'm trying to put the sails, the canvas, into the wind. And look at that. Hear that? That right there just meant that we are efficiently getting some wind, and our speed is accelerating. Now you can move the sails left and right so that they can catch the wind while you're steering in other directions. And look at that. I think that... Oh, well, look at the waves, though. Look at the islands. And what I like about it is you get this feel of, like, open ocean, but you also get this feel of discovery and wonder, because there's all these islands, and on all these islands there could be little secrets, Easter eggs, treasure, enemies, you know? And basically what's happening now is we're all communicating. We're all on, like, what do you call it, VoIP or whatever, but we're all talking to each other over the game with our headsets. And I'm actually interested. There was no... Look at that. We're passing Plunder Outpost. So it's another outpost. And outposts are where, when you find treasure, you're supposed to take it back to them. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, we do, in fact, find some treasure in this episode. So, what I also noticed about steering is there's a little bit of an oversteering mechanic. Just like there is in, like, the boats that I pilot. And, you know, I'm used to, like, center consoles anywhere between 20 to 30 feet. You know, with 1 to 2 outboard engines. Not a sailing ship, but there's oversteering with boats. It's just the way it is. And so I'm in control of the rudder, basically, which steers the ship. But other members of this crew are in charge of the canvas. They can move it around, and at some point, we finally figure this out. So right now, I gotta say this, though. I'm a little disappointed in my crew. And I know that some members of Baron's Brigade could definitely have got me a much more efficient sailing adventure, but whoever was the guy on the map could not find the island we were tasked to go to. But interestingly enough, and I learned this after the first playthrough, good lord, isn't it? Hindsight's 20/20. And if I could go back and play this game, knowing what I know now, I would be in charge of the map and kind of captaining this crew so that we could get to the island. But you've got these 3 clues, all that have to do with 3 different islands. So we could have found the closer island to an outpost, gone there, got the booty, plundered it, and taken it back to an outpost for the just rewards. Because in the play session, and here we are, whenever you pass close to another island, it kind of triggers this, hey, this is where you're at in the world right now, which is nice. But our navigator, he had too much grog the night before, I'll tell you that much. But what is cool is we are going to get to see some PvP in this, and PvE. So PvP, player versus player, PvE, player versus environment. So here's another island, and look at this. There's a cave on it. Oh my gosh, I wanted to just drop anchor right then and just explore that cave. The sheer feeling of wonderment and wanting to explore this just vast, beautiful, and completely foreign world that you're in, which is, you know, archipelago style. Islands everywhere. I just wanted to explore every freaking island. And I'm curious if there's going to be different size ships. Look at that. See, now you can see the canvas is oriented kind of more towards the right. And we are sailing straight for what I believe is called a squall, which is a very, a small, pretty intense storm. So if we go through that, our guide, our kind of overwatcher, overseer, who worked for the company, was like, you guys might not want to sail at that storm. And you gotta remember that, like, oh, look at those islands and the cloud systems. It's such a beautiful game. It is one of the most beautiful games I think I've ever seen in my life. And I want to play this all the time. But I can't see as much steering the ship, so it's like there has to be a lot of coordination. And look at that. I can kind of get the feeling that behind that sail is a really, really nasty squall or a nasty storm, right? In Florida, we call them thunderstorms. And they pop up and they disappear pretty quickly. And I think that the bell person was like, there's a storm ahead. And so they're jingling it. And look at that small little island to the left. And then there's the bigger one behind it. But this is the most beautiful game I think I've seen in quite a long time. Oh, look at this. Fool's Lagoon. So if I was to say like the top 5 games I'm looking out for right now in no particular order, I'd have to say Sea of Thieves, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Call of Duty World War II's up there. Because if you don't know, on my other channel, it's look at this storm, look at the lightning bolts. But my other channel is a war games type channel. I like to play the shooters and stuff like that. I have too many interests in my life. That's one of my issues, right? There's too many things I want to do, too many things I'm interested in, too many things I want to play. But this is definitely near the top. And I'm trying to think. Skull and Bones look pretty interesting. I also played Mario Rabbids. If you think you'd like to see that on this channel, let me know, because this is part of the E3 footage that I got. At the point right now, yeah, I think the bell's like, we got to turn more to the right. But I wanted to dodge this storm, but you can see the swells of the ocean right here. You know, these are pretty significant swells, like what, 6 to 10 feet, somewhere in that range. It's hard to get a decent reference point in this video game, but these are some serious waves, and you can see how they're affecting the ship. You know, the physics and just like how your ship interacts with the ocean and how the ocean interacts with the weather system is pretty amazing. There's a beautiful day-night cycle. I wonder what happened. See, right now, okay, yeah, good. We're turning the canvas. Yeah, whoever's on the sails right now is doing a good job, because you can see those little white lines. They're coming at an angle, and you want to maximize, you know, the canvas catching it. Look at that guy going straight down the main mast there from the crow's nest. And look, we're getting. So basically, what's happening right now is the guy on the map is saying, "Hey, head straight north," right? And if I were to do that, I would have sailed straight through the storm, and that could have been pretty interesting. But from what I heard, we would have damaged our ship. We may have taken on water. And honestly, I'm in for the treasure and the booty and the gold right now. But we're slowly skirting the sides of the storm. And our navigator found us the treasure that was probably the island that was furthest from us. But hey, greater the risk, maybe greater the reward, right? But Yeah, so, like, think about this. We've been on the open ocean for quite some time, and I feel like that in this game, there's going to be oh, and you know what's really cool is if you look closely at the steering wheel, you can see it. There's a little bit of a oscillation, a little bit of movement. The steering wheel actually fights you, which is perfect. It's fitting. Like, have you ever seen, like, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? Or for those of you who watch Black Sails, the best pirate show of all time on Stars, highly recommend it. It's like Game of Thrones but with pirates, right? You'll see that, like, the guy who's steering it, oftentimes if you're cutting really, really hard with the rudder, which is what the steering wheel, you know, is in control of, the water, the force of the water on the rudder will eventually fight the person who's steering it. So in intense weather, depending where you're going, and look at that. Now we're finally dropping that front sail. So, needless to say, when you first start out with your crew, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to the game, right? But then as you go, you guys can find out which roles you're good at, how you can work very well. We were on a crew of 4, but I would imagine you could do bigger crews. But can you imagine Baron's Brigade sailing in a couple ships, sailing around, finding treasure, and intercepting other pirates, and just sinking their ships, or having them join our cause? Like, can you imagine the things we could do in this game? So right now we're sailing straight north. We're heading for the island. I forget what its name was, the island, but we will come across it soon. And what's interesting is, you know, we weren't the only ones heading to this island, right? So that is one of the cool things that happened in this game, was, like I said, PvP and PvE elements. But I think that's the fun thing. If you go and get treasure, from what I've seen on the trailers and the clips that Rareware has shown off on their YouTube channel, it makes it seem like in certain events or in certain cases you can go get treasure, and while you can be the expert at finding treasure, other people can just specialize in intercepting your ship and stealing the treasure that you just got. But think about it. The game is literally called Sea of Thieves. That is part of the pirates, you know, what would you say? The whole experience of being a pirate, right? Is you've got your crews, you've got mutinies, you've got plundering, you've got, you know, exchanging broadsides and boarding enemy ships. This is a fun game. I am going to play this so much. And look at the different islands. Like, look at the one to the left. And, like, those little ones here. So I'm trying to steer and make sure I'm not going to hit anything. What I do like is the wave action is helping me to see under this sail and get an idea. And look at that. That was the first glimpse of an enemy pirate ship. And so in this, people are like, there's a pirate ship! Like, all of us are kind of freaking out right now. Like, hey, there's a pirate ship. Because what was going on in this play session, there was 3 crews. 3 crews of 4, so 12 total people playing Sea of Thieves in these little sessions, right? So there's 3 ships, and out of this vast world, we happen to go to the same place that another pirate ship was going, right? And so they're already anchored off their island. What's interesting is the sails are out, but once you drop the anchor, it basically nullifies it. It makes it pretty intuitive. And here's our destination, Lone Cove. This is the one we were looking for so long. We sailed, and you got to see just the beauty of the ocean, the open ocean and everything. And now it's kind of dusk, and look at this. There's some nice beaches, and I'm telling my people to drop the anchor. But needless to say, we're a low crew. So literally I'm saying, drop the anchor, drop the anchor, drop the anchor. And it's not dropping, so now I say ramming speed. And look at that. You can see enemy pirates and these skeleton creatures, the PvE element on the island. So, needless to say, and you can see one of my crew members is firing, I think it was his pistol. And you can hear that cranking. That is the anchor, and I think they were trying to raise it, potentially, instead of just let it all out. And then we learned you gotta let it all out. And now the ship pretty much comes to a stop. We're not where I wanted to be, right? Needless to say, I think the captain should be the person who's not necessarily steering the ship, but has the best view and the best understanding of how to operate a ship. I think I should have taken on that role. So here I'm experimenting with, like, pulling out my weapons and seeing what I have available. The guy was saying, hey, you guys should get bananas, because bananas help you revive health. And that right there you just saw briefly was a map. It was this big overview map. Now, in this other footage that I'm looking to get, look at it. Here's the map to the left, and here's some, like, that looks like maybe cannonballs or grape shot. And I totally passed it because I'm like excited. I'm like, where's the treasure at? I've got a blunderbuss, which is basically like an old school shotgun. Look at that. Look at how beautiful it is under the water. Look at how the waves are. It's not like when you just jump under the water that it's like meh, whatever. There's life above and below. And I even saw a shark in another game session. Look at the weather. Seriously, the weather and the storm effects are just absolutely incredible. So here I'm swimming to the island. But I'm curious if there's going to be many sizes of ships in this game. There's barrels on it, and I don't know if that was brought by the enemy crew or if it was just there. Look at this! There's a skeleton. And I tried to hit him. I don't know if I missed him. Well, I mean, I must have missed him. And my teammate just wasted him. So I found that I was playing on a controller, right? And I'm used to mouse and keyboard because, you know, PCs. And now it's nighttime, and here's the enemy crew digging up this treasure. And then they realize we're here, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. And so they start coming after us. And so now the PvP engagement starts. And it just so happens that right now, it was getting near the end of our session. But you could imagine that, you know, this battle could have gone any number of ways. We could have loaded up the cannons and used the cannons on the ship, maybe, to get them. But what's really interesting is what you're about to see. So people are dying, right? They're getting knocked out. Oh, that guy just dodged a blunderbuss shot. And here we go. I get in a sword fight, and I take him out. Now, I wasn't using... Look at that. And then he turns into a spirit, right? So I'm almost dead. Look at my health in the lower left. And here's one of the PvE skeletons, and I take a musket ball straight to the face. My life is over, right? But look at this. A ghost ship. Ferry of the Darned. And look at this. It's beautiful, and there's this portal that opens up at some point. But basically the developers were saying, at this point what you want to do is you can talk to both your teammates and the teammates that you were fighting, or the enemies you were fighting with. You can find out like, hey, you're the one who got me. What happened to you? And talk about that. Now the game session's ending. Anyway, guys, I'm working on getting a second bit of footage for you. So if you'd like to see it, let me know. Pull the trigger on the like button, and let me know what you'd like to see. What other games at E3 you'd like to see. And guys, I'm so excited that I got to share, like, Sea of Thieves. I'm telling you, it is one of my most anticipated games. I've been having my eye on this for quite a long time, and it was a dream come true to get to play it. So I can't wait to share more with you, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. Anyway, thank you for watching. My name is Baron, and once after E3 ends, we'll get back up to 2 videos per usual. So if you're new here, we like to do 2 videos a day on this channel. But anyway, guys, this is awesome. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys in the next video.